Hola, amiga, and welcome back to the Latina Leadership Podcast, the podcast for Latinas by Latinas, where every week we have real conversations about the issues and topics that matter most to our community. Topics like education, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, pay equity, and so much more. Get comfortable. We're bringing you another inspiring episode starting right now. Enjoy the show.
Hola, and welcome to another episode of the Latina Leadership Series. I am your host, completely out of my car today, Anjelica. On today's episode, I have Trina Silva. As always, I give the interviewee an opportunity to introduce themselves and what they do. So, Trina, what do you do, and who are you?
I am Trina Silva, and I am the Education Foundation and Partnerships Director for Harris County Department of Education. And I wear a couple of hats. I'm on the Education Foundation side of things and also the Harris County Department of Education side of things. So I can talk a little bit more about that later.
So when you say education for Harris County, because it's a county, what is it that, if you're not dealing with directly with things and items like, school district, what is it when you say education when it comes to a county?
So one of the things I want to start with is a lot of people have this misconception that we are part of Judge Lina Hidalgo's office, and we're not. We're actually completely separate from that. We are our own institution. And so we're the only Department of Education left in Texas. And what we do is we offer a lot of services regarding education, continuing education, also certifications for educators in Harris County. And we provide these services that people might not be able to afford on their own and provide it at a discounted or free. So we do that. And then we also have the nonprofit side of things where the foundation gives out scholarships and grants and school supplies to teachers. And so basically we're filling the gaps for all the education institutions that there are out there. And so we have 25 districts that fall under Harris County.
Yeah, Harris County is quite big. So for those who don't know, Houston falls under Harris County. It's one of the largest school districts in the nation. So what do you mean when you said it's the only county education left? What does that mean?
It's the only department of education. So, we have the National Department of Education, which a lot of people are probably familiar with because it's been a hot topic in politics. And then we have the Harris County Department of Education. So Dallas County used to also have a Department of Education, and they were the second. It was us two left, and then now it's just us. And so we are just basically a service to anybody living in Harris County. And so we have a lot of different programs that are available. And one of the things that I love to talk about, because it's free and everybody likes free stuff, is our adult education program. And we offer several certifications through that program. And also we have ESL courses, GED courses, and citizenship courses. And so we have this beautiful multi-million-dollar building that was just built, I think, this past year. And let me go back a little bit. I actually have been in my role for 8 months now. And so I still consider myself new, but, I'm learning so much about the organization still. So as a person that is on the inside, still learning, there's so much that the general public needs to know about what we're doing.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what it is that you had been doing before you were there. So talk to us a little bit about where were you at prior and what kind of led you into the Harris County education side of the county?
So a lot of people, they use the phrase, I just fell into my job. And in a way, I kind of did. And so a lot of my job is about raising awareness about what we're doing, which I love doing because I am also a community volunteer and I just understand the importance of having these services that, our county residents can use. But I also do some fundraising, and I work with volunteers, and there's so many different aspects of my job. And so where I was previously was the University of Houston, and I was a development director there. And so basically my job was to raise money for the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences. And I'm not a U of H alumni, but or alumna, but I was a honorary Coug, and so I was there for about 6 years raising money for that college. And I got to learn a lot about the culture of University of Houston and also the needs that there are. And I myself was a liberal arts graduate twice, with my bachelor's and my master's. And so I understand the importance of liberal arts. And for people that are in education, they know that liberal arts are being attacked all the time. But liberal arts are really important. There's a lot of social aspects that come from liberal arts. There's a lot of need for students in STEM that maybe they don't have certain soft skills that they need to work on. And so that's where the liberal arts come in and, really help make a well-rounded person.
Yeah, that's a lot of fundamentals that happen during that stage. It goes beyond the continuing education. It go I believe a well-rounded person, um, for not well-rounded, bad choice of words, but I guess when it comes to like education side of things, um, liberal arts, I feel like it's under it's not sought after because you know what and so what I'm trying to say is that I've met and continue to meet amazing liberal arts majors who are amazing at speaking skills, writing skills, storytelling. There's so much that goes into it. And so I think it's not and you know what, it's our fault because we don't hype it enough. It's our fault for not telling the kids like, yeah, no, liberal arts is fine. You're gonna learn how to master your language, how to better associate, how to think critically. Oh my God, thinking critically, it's a big part of, that education that you get. So when you
Absolutely.
talk about advocating for education, what is it that you would say to those who want to join you in this reinforcement event, like advocating for education? Also, inclusion to STEM and liberal arts.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, for me, it's very personal to advocate for education. I think, I just actually left an event that was awarding first generation Latinas scholarships. And I myself was a first generation student, college student, but also I was a first generation high school graduate. Both of my parents did not graduate high school. My mom actually, she was a migrant worker and she dropped out of school in 8th grade so that she can go and work with her family. But they've always been big advocates of continuing education and making sure that I go to college. It was never a choice for me. It was like, this will be what you do. And I'm really grateful for that because I don't think if they had pushed me in that direction, I would have necessarily gone in that direction on my own. I was quite comfortable, living under their roof. And I think a lot of people are at that young age and, just not knowing, what do I do next? But they were like, "You're gonna go to college." And, I went to college. I had no idea what I was doing, and I didn't even know what liberal arts meant back then. But I had gone to my local, two-year school. It was, Alvin Community College, so if anybody's from Alvin, it's the home of the Fighting Dolphins. Um, and that's where I grew up and went to high school. So I ended up going to this two-year school in my hometown, and I only went there because I got a scholarship, and it was a very small scholarship. I wanna say $600 or something. Um, I got this scholarship, and I ended up going to the school. I had to major in business to get the scholarship, and so I didn't know what I was gonna do, so I just did that. And then I ended up finding a mentor. Actually, she found me. It was one of my professors, and she really took an interest in me. I don't know why. That's a conversation I would love to have with her. I still, have her on Facebook, so maybe I'll reach out to her later. But she really took this personal interest in me, and she was like, "I I think you should work for me. You should be my assistant." And so I did, and we got to know each other. And she was like, "What are you going to do next?" And I was like, "I have no idea. I was just going to get my 2-year degree and then figure it out." And she was like, "Well, you need to start applying to a 4-year school so you can get your bachelor's." And so I was like, "Okay." So I did that. And I told her at that time, I wanted to go to UT and I wanted to major in journalism. And I did not know how hard it was to get into the UT journalism program. It's one of the best in the country. And so she was like, "Well, how about like, yeah, apply there, but you'll get into UT for sure. But I don't know if you're going to get into the journalism program and I don't want you to waste your money. So why don't you also look into other programs?" So I ended up looking into Sam Houston State, and she had recommended it. And so did my counselor. And so I applied to Sam Houston and I got into their journalism program, which was really easy at Sam Houston. At that time, it was a lot smaller than what it is now. And I got into the journalism program, and it was a really great decision for me. And I was really glad that she pushed me in that direction, because for me, being a first generation Latina that's like very close to my family, had never been away from home, I think going to a school like UT, I would have just gotten lost in the crowd and not have survived out there on my own. But I ended up going to a smaller school where there were smaller classes, and I was close enough to home where I could come home that evening if I wanted to. And so I went there and I had such an amazing time. And so that's kind of where my like advocacy for higher education especially came. It was like from my own personal experiences and trying to navigate how to get into schools by myself, how to choose a major, how to pay for school. And so just having to navigate that all on my own and not having siblings or parents or cousins that had been through it to ask questions. Or back then, we didn't, this is going to show how old I am, but so anybody that's way younger, back then we didn't have as easy access to social media and to the internet. I think back then we had something called Ask Jeeves, which some of y'all might remember. But, I was like, I need to help other people navigate. And so that's where I was like, I'm going to make sure, like I put a mental note, like when the time comes, I'm going to make sure to help other people get to where I am. And so that's been my mission. And personally, mentorship has become very important to me, because at that time when I met my mentor and she, was teaching me things and, took me under her wing, I had no idea what the word mentor was either. And so, and I wasn't, this makes me sound like I'm dumb, but I wasn't a dumb person, but it wasn't like normal vocabulary to me. And so, I, I decided, I'm going to be a mentor, and I'm going to make sure that I'm showing people, the right, or not the right way, but the way that works for me, and lead them in the way that works for them.
Oh, that's amazing. So I have a question then. So you went into your 2-year college, and then you sought out your 4-year degree. And you've seen how difficult and tough it was, especially for first gen education where internet wasn't a thing where you can go and ask your friends on Facebook, right? Like it was completely you're dependent on the people that you met. Most brown girls unite in a space and they're like, you look, and they give you the clue and they're like, they talk to you a little Spanish or sounds Espanol, and you're like, yeah. And so that's how you just like navigate, and that's how you find each other. But as you're in that education space, you get your 4-year degree. Why did you get your master's?
Well, it all comes back to my family. So I ended up, after I graduated, which there's several things that I would have done differently when I was in college. And one of the things was I would have definitely gotten a better internship. I would have studied abroad. And I would have really built my relationships with my professors and let them know like what my personal experiences were, because there's times when I think they could have helped me and I didn't share what I was going through. And so they had no idea. And so I think that, held me back a little bit from being great quicker, because I feel like I'm great now. But, I could have been great a lot earlier. And so I think what happened is I graduated from Sam Houston State. I went on to work for Sam Houston State. I was recruiting students to come to the school. And I moved. This was before working from home was a thing. I moved to Dallas. And so this was my first time living away by myself. And I moved to Dallas. And I didn't have any friends there or anything. I was just like, I'm going to go be a city girl and like find my way. And so I went to Dallas for 3 years and worked for Sam Houston. It was one of the most fun jobs I ever had. But also, I was 5 hours away from my family. And I was very close to my family. And so at the time, my first niece was born. And so I would come back and visit her, and she would cry every time I held her. And I was like, she doesn't know who I am, which really made me sad. So then I found out my second niece was being born, and I decided right then and there, I'm moving back. Like, I'm coming back home. I want her to know me. I want to be the favorite aunt. I don't want to be the aunt that lives far away and sends presents or comes for holidays. And so I started looking for jobs, couldn't find one. I would always be one of the top candidates, but it always came down to, you don't have a master's degree. And so I was like, well, I guess this is my sign. I should just get a master's degree. And so my parents have always been supportive of me and my education, like I said. And so they were like, Mija, come move back in with us. And I did not want to move back in with them because I have been on my own for years. And I was like, the first time I moved back in with them after I graduated with my bachelor's, I moved right back out because I was like, I cannot deal with the rules. But this time they were like, we won't be so strict with you. And I was like, yes. So I ended up moving back with them. And I went and I decided to get my master's. And so at that time, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to be a grant writer? Because, grant writers get paid a lot. I mean, at that time, I don't know how it is now, but, there's a demand for grant writers, and they get paid pretty well. And so I said, I'm going to be a grant writer. And I graduated. I started, doing grants. And I was like, this is not for me. I've always been like a super outgoing person, and I've, wanted to be out and about. Like, I am not the type of person that should be tied down to my desk. And grant writing was like not going to happen for me. Like, it could be a little aspect, but for me, I was like, no, not a full-time thing. And also, I didn't want to be my own boss because, like, I would probably give myself too many vacation days and not be able to afford them anymore. So, yeah, that's what happened. I just decided, let me get my master's because I could not get those jobs that I wanted. So, and I don't know if that's how the job market is now because I have my master's, so I have no idea. But I would say if it's still like that, definitely go get your master's.
Yeah, especially in higher education. Yeah, that master's or higher positions, C-suites, they always require a little bit more education. But yeah, I see why. I see there was a need and a necessity, and we do what we have to. And so, yeah, getting your master's was the way to go for you.
Yes.
So, as your position and where you are now, let me just talk about Harris County real quick. Where is Harris County going towards when in regards to like, uh, uh, I don't know if it's foreshadowing or like seeing like what it is or what is it that is on the plane for you guys, and what should we look forward to as like we're residents of that county?
Yeah. So right now, my big focus is just raising awareness about the organization. And then also, letting people know about what we offer. And so like I said, I've been here for 8 months. When I first started in this role, I mean, thankfully, I have a lot of experience in what my role entails. They gave me, digitally, they gave me stuff and they were like, okay, we need you to do this, this, and this. And I was like, all right. And so I immediately got started with planning a fundraiser. It was our second annual fundraiser that we had. And I wanted it to be bigger and better and more memorable than the last year, which I feel like we succeeded. And then, we have our scholarships that we give out to Harris County students. So we gave out about $100,000 of scholarships. It's about
Wow.
$2,500 for each student. And our focus is giving them to students that are going to go the non-traditional route of school. So it's like going to a 2-year school like me, going to a technical school. We had some really amazing students that received our scholarships this past year. Like one of them is in New York right now, and she's in culinary arts school. And it couldn't have been possible without the scholarships that she received. And again, it's a she. So it's even like a bigger win because for me, I'm like, let's get more like Latin women out there working in these jobs that are male dominated.
Mhm.
And so that was exciting. And then there was another student that she received a scholarship. She's in welding school right now in Wyoming. And so it's, these students that they're going these non-traditional routes and they have this money that, there's not a ton of scholarships out there for those types of trades or 2-year schools. And so just having another avenue to help them is amazing.
That is absolutely phenomenal and inspiring because when you go to welding school or any technical trade school, you have to pay out of pocket a lot of the times. And people don't understand it's a lot of money to invest as is higher education. And yes, it's a fraction of what it is for higher education, but that's upfront money that you
Yeah.
have to and so you kind of dig into the pockets of your parents and everybody else and so it's a big responsibility, it's a big commitment, and the fact that Harris County is fundraising to be able to continue giving those scholarships, I think it's amazing. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's the part I love about my job is that I get to help students. And, you know, when I was at University of Houston, I was helping students, but I was indirectly helping them. Now I'm in a position where I'm like, I see these students that we're working with. I work with these students. I talk to them. I know their stories. And so just being there and seeing all of that, and then being able to share that with other people, sharing it like we were talking about liberal arts, storytelling, to sharing it on social media. I love social media. So being able to post on social media about all the great things we're doing, love it. I'm a team of one. So I'm over here doing it myself. I'm doing the planning of the fundraisers. I'm going out there and talking to people. I'm giving out the scholarships. I'm, doing all of our social media posts. And so that's the thing I think that I would love one day to be able to have a team that's helping me do all of these things. And I'm lucky this semester that I have an intern from University of Houston. He's been amazing. He's been so helpful. And he had no idea what we were doing. Like he didn't know about the organization. And so I'm like, there's one more person that is learning about it and he's going to be able to share about what we're doing. Um, so I think that, just I've been very blessed in my position to be able to use all of my talents and skills, but to also change lives.
Trina, that sounds so amazing. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about you. What is what would you say is on the future horizon for education and Latinos or Latinas? And what advice would you get?
Well, there's a lot of people are talking about education and certifications here in Houston, particularly with HISD. And there's several ISDs that, there's a lot of teachers that are going into teaching positions and they might not have the proper certifications or, I mean, that's actually probably not a good way to say it. They don't have the certifications that can really help them succeed in their roles.
Yeah.
And so I think just knowing that there are opportunities to further your education. And so like yesterday, I was talking to somebody that works for Shell, and she was saying that she started in a very low level, entry level position. And she said that Shell paid for all of her school. And I was like, that's amazing. There's so many organizations that do that, companies that will pay for your school. And so I think that that's something that I would make sure that, Latin, not just women, but, Latinos, all young people, like they need to know that there are resources where it's like, go work part-time at the hospital or, the bank and also get your school paid. So just, educating themselves about that, I think would be great. Also, again, going back to Harris County, like we have a teacher certification program. So just knowing about stuff like that, that's at a discounted rate, or that you can work with your schools and tell them like this, I'm interested in becoming a principal. Like, how can I do this? And so just being aware of what is available out there. And this also goes to, college students, high school students too, where it's like, you need to go and ask people, like, things are not going to fall in your lap. They might, if you're lucky, or if maybe you're a favorite student, or you go and bug your counselors every day. But you really need to seek out opportunities and resources. And, that's going to help you really be successful. So I would hope that, there's not so many like Latin students, especially because my story where I was like trying to figure out how to navigate the system. I would hope that there's more mentors and to be out there telling people how to do stuff, and that there's mentees that are like really going after it because of those mentors. And that's why I'm also a mentor myself to several, typically it's young ladies, because again, it goes back to my own personal stories. But, just my mentees, or my boyfriend likes to say protege is the proper word. But my mentees or protege, whatever you want to call them, they, they know they can come to me and be very vulnerable. And I think that that's a very important thing too. You have to be vulnerable and tell people what you need, how it's going. And I can only help you as much as you want me to help you. And if I don't know what's going on, again, it goes back to me and my story, wishing that I had a better relationship with my professors. I need to know what's going on because I need to know how I can help you. And if I can't help you, I probably know somebody that can.
Yeah. Trina, when you mentioned something earlier, because I do want to go back to it, because I did, again, we mentioned briefly that HISD is one of the largest school districts. And we did all, I mean, it's on the national union, right? Where it's all coming up. It's all coming up. But when you have Harris County offering the certifications and items like that, right? Because we never know people's circumstance. We never know the reasons, or we never know what the conversations took place. But it's reminding the community that this is here. It's available to the community at a discounted rate. It's available to the community to whatever it may be. It's kind of putting more of a I don't want to say positive light, but more of a shine, like make it apparent that uh there's an opportunity, that this isn't the way the school system and the education is ran, that we don't know, right? Only they know. And if it's a legal thing that becomes, it is what I can't emphasize even more on that we don't know. But Harris County is doing their part by offering these certifications at a discounted rate. And so I just wanted to say that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. We are here as a resource. We're here to help. People can come to us. I had a friend the other day, and he said, my daughter wants to get certified to be a teacher. She just graduated college and she wants to be a teacher, but they're saying she needs to get certified. And all the districts are different. So, this particular one she wants to teach in, she needs to be certified. And I was like, oh, definitely check us out. Like, go. I sent her some links to Harris County Department of Education. And I was like, these are resources available. Let me know if you have any questions. I am not the expert on all of that. There are so many divisions that we have, so I can't be the expert on all of them. But I do know that we have those services available. And so that's my job, where it's like, I want to make sure you know what we have available. Let me know if you need more information, and I will connect you to the right people that know all the details about how to find out about getting certified or going and continuing your education.
I remember when I don't know if Houston Chronicle still does this, but there would be pages and pages upon pages of all the Texas school districts, or at least in the county, that would be graded, and I'd be like, oh, I don't know if you remember that, but I was like, what are we shaming? But you know what? The Chronicle's gonna do what it's going to do. So I was like, Jesus heavens, but
Hey, do it. That's journalism.
it is.
Yeah, they're telling the whole story, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's good journalism, which I think is not as prevalent these days.
Yeah, no, it's not good. I remember I would be like, I would dread, right? So I would see it when I was going to high school, and then I remember going and looking for when my son was going to school, and I'd be like, I wonder what the grade is. I don't even want to know. You know what? As long as the teacher's good, he's learning and he's getting what he needs, maybe. But okay, I did want to mention that because Texas education, we take it serious. So when we say we push ads, amazing, educated people, journalism is one of them. I don't know if you know that Texas is one of the ones that produces some of the best journalists.
I believe it. I mean, with University of Texas being such a great school for journalism, I can only imagine. And we've got some of the biggest newspapers. I mean, we have some of the biggest metros in the nation. The other thing too is that I think, you know, if we really want to make a difference, then we need to get involved politically too. And it starts from the very bottom. I mean, it starts from joining your PTA, the kids being in staff council and learning how to advocate for themselves. Um, and then going to, like, we have our own elected officials at Harris County Department of Education. We have a board of trustees, and they get elected into their positions by everyone living in Harris County. And, they're the ones that can really help make a difference in some of our education systems. And so a lot of people do misconstrue us with HISD. They think we're one and the same. We're definitely not. We don't have any say in what HISD does, but what we can do is we can offer services that we know that they need, like teachers' school supplies, the scholarships, grants for special projects. And so this year, we gave out several $10,000 grants and an even bigger one, a $30,000 grant, so that we can help school districts do some of the projects that they just don't have the funding for. So that's another way that we really help pour into those districts.
I think that's, well, thank you. Thank you to Harris County because it's some smaller school districts within Harris County do need all the help they can potentially possibly get.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to anyone considering a role or a position in education?
Well, I would say be prepared to not get paid very much. No, I think, you just have to be prepared to like roll with the punches because, politics again plays a huge part in education. And so you just never know how that's going to affect you and your roles. And so it kind of is like the same, here in Houston, we have a huge oil and gas industry and it's the same way. It ebbs and flows. And so, I would just say that just, be willing to roll with the punches, but also be ready to make some changes in people's lives. I was at a dinner last night, and I was talking to a table of people about, our experiences, and we were all Latin, and we all had a similar story of being first generation, and also about, having imposter syndrome. And so one of the things that we talked about was you just never know how much your words can impact a person. And we were talking about people making a positive impact. So like breathing life into us and telling us how amazing we were going to be and why we should, go after our dreams and how we remember that. I was talking to a woman that she flies planes for United Airlines, some of the biggest planes that people get on. She's Colombian. She has been flying since she was 18. She's 36 now. And I was so impressed because, like, for me, you don't see a lot of women pilots. And you don't even hear, like, in school, or at least when I was in school, like, that you could be a pilot. Like, I always thought I had to be a nurse or a teacher or a flight attendant. And so for her to do that, I was just like, wow, like that is so cool. And so she was talking about somebody had told her years ago when she was a teenager, like, one day you're going to be a pilot, like you're going to do it. And she just remembers that. And she has not like talked to that person in a long time, fell out of touch with them. But she was like, now that we're having this conversation, I need to find them because I need to let them know that they really changed my life just by saying those words to me. And so that is something that I think about, like educators, whether you're working directly or indirectly or people in education, like you really can make a difference by just sharing a story or breathing words into educators or students. And so, and it goes the opposite way too. Negative words can also hurt. I know there's a saying, sticks and stones maybe break my bones, but words may never hurt me. That's a lie. Like people remember words. And so people remember those amazing words that you say to them and they remember the terrible ones.
I like that a lot. So, but on that note, Trina, I have to limit myself on time because I can go on and absorb your entire day if you let me.
I have to go and get coffee.
Yeah, yeah, because I love this conversation about education. Of course, we have our education forum coming up pretty soon, actually. I believe it's in March or April. It's when the deadlines are for college entry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's coming up. But on that note, like I said, I can't absorb your time and I won't do that because I can continue talking. With that being said, what advice would you give to a young Latina in general, not necessarily in education or any field, but as you were speaking about imposter syndrome, I knew you had words of advice. I knew you had golden words of to tell someone similarly who has experienced what you have experienced. What would you tell her?
So I actually wrote like a list of things. So I'm gonna answer this in two ways. One is people that are listening and watching that they, you know, maybe they don't consider themselves a mentor. Maybe they don't think that they have a good enough, job professional experience to be a mentor. But I told one of my mentees years ago when I said, you would make a really great mentor. And she said, I just graduated college. What are you talking about? And I was like, that right there in itself, that is a feat. Like you need to share your experience with other young girls that are in high school and let them know that they can graduate college too. And so my first piece of advice is if you maybe are thinking, I want to make a difference in someone's life, but I'm not qualified. You have the imposter syndrome. I want you to share your story. Just share it. And tell people about your experiences because no matter what, no matter if they're big or small, you don't have to be like some big, deal at some company to be a mentor. You can be just a graduate from even high school. And so, share your story and experiences, but also be authentic about it. Like I walk into a lot of rooms where I see a lot of very successful women and they're so put together. And I think, oh, they went from, point A to point B in a straight line. No, there's like ups and downs. And I want to know that. And so just like tell your story authentically. What are the failures? What did you learn from that you would hope nobody else would do? The second thing from the mentee aspect or I say mentor mentee, this is my passion, but like to a young person that is not a professional that has experience out, in a career yet. I would just say to really build those relationships with the people around you. And it could be anybody. I mean, for me, I think about one of my mentors who mentored me. And she's like several years younger than me. And I learned so much from her. So just think about who you're surrounding yourself by and learn from them. Like learn from what experiences that they have that have put them in the place that you want to be. If you see a teacher or maybe somebody in the community that you volunteer with or you go to church with or whatever, like go and talk to them and and it sounds silly now, or it sounded silly when I was younger, where it's like, do you want to just grab a coffee? Like
Mhm.
now as an adult, I say that all the time. I would even recommend that. Like just, putting yourself out there and being like, hey, like, I love your story and I want to know more about it. Can we meet like over tea and talk about it? Um, I had, and I'm going to tell you this really quick story. I know we're short on time, but
No, it's all right. It's okay.
I
I have kids.
I have a mentee that I just was. I mean, I love her audacity. I'll use that word. Where she told me that she heard a guest speaker at her college talking about his story and about how he started as a first generation college student, but he started at an older age. So he was probably in his 30s when he started. And he's a very known Houston lawyer, very like well known, but also very successful. And he's making a ton of money. so so he started school as a non-traditional student, and he was working at the same time as a paralegal in a law office. And so now in his success, he's coming to talk to students, particularly Hispanic students, about his experience. And so she heard him speak. And after talking to him, or after he talked to the class, she said, hey, I want to do what you're doing. Can I work for you? And he was like, yeah, send me your resume. And she got a job with him. And it was amazing. And I was like, she had the audacity to ask this successful man after he spoke to a big group to give her a job. And he did. And I was like, that is amazing. Like when she told me, I was just like, you are so amazing. You don't even understand. Like, I don't think I would have the guts to do that now
Yeah.
as an adult. So to have this like young college student and she's so shy too. So I was just like, this is not her character, but she stepped outside of her box and she went and she asked for what she wanted and she got it. And I'm like, I love that. And so that's something I would encourage people to do. That's what I'm leaving you with, is just have the audacity to do something that people would be like, wow, what? It's very impressive.
Wow. You're leaving a lot of things. You're leaving a lot of little. I love it. I love it.
I could also talk all day about all of this too.
So can I? No, we really now need to do the coffee, lunch, dinner, pick. I buy. Um. So before I do let you go, my last question I ask everybody who comes to the podcast is: do you consider yourself a leader? Why or why not?
Now I do. If you asked me a year ago, I would have probably said no. But I do. And the reason that I do is because people come to me and they ask me for my advice. And people have done that before, but I think lately, like they've been doing it more. And I think that I've been putting myself out there more, where I'm more confident and, people know my story more. I've been telling people my story. And so once they hear that, they want to know more. And so I think a good leader, that's how they are. They're like, I'm willing to share my experiences with you so that you can be more successful. We're getting ready for the next generation to take over. Baby boomers, they're retiring, they're maybe passing away. There's a lot of people that are going to be leaving the job market very soon. And so here we are coming up as the next generation of leaders. And so we need to think about ourselves as leaders who are training the next generation of leaders. And so that's why it's very important to, be a mentor or seek out mentorship of your younger generations. So yes, absolutely. I am a leader, and I am so happy that I'm in this place now where I'm able to say that with confidence, because like I said, I had that imposter syndrome. And if you asked me a year ago, I probably would have not answered the question the same.
Uh, So, where can we find more about Harris County? And where can we find you?
Yes. So if you look for me on LinkedIn, you can add me. I love making friends on LinkedIn. Send me a message though, because I think a lot of people add me and they don't ever say anything. And like I said, have the audacity to ask me to coffee or something. Um, and so that's one way to reach out to me. It's my first and last name, Trina Silva. How you can find out more about HCDE is you can go to hcde.org. And so you'll see all of our programs and every division that we have. So you can learn a little bit more about what we're doing. And then also go to efhc.org, which is part of HCDE, but it's easier if I just tell you the webpage, efhc.org. And that's going to teach you a little bit more about like those scholarships, the grants, and the school supplies. And, learn more about what we're doing on the foundation side of things. So either one of those works.
Thank you. That was the question. Where can we find you and where can we find more about Harris County education? Bueno, with that being said, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving us a conversation and talking to us. We might just reach back out to you to have another conversation sometime soon.
Thank you for joining us on the Latina Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your amigas, comadres, hermanas, your mom, your tias, or anyone who you think would enjoy the conversation. The Latina Leadership Podcast is a weekly video and audio podcast since 2020. Visit our online Latina Leaders Directory, join our growing community of Latina changemakers, keep up with our calendar of events, or reach out to us if you're interested in supporting the Latina Leadership Podcast by visiting our website at latinaleadershippodcast.com. And with that, we'll see you next time.